Let's get on. I'm not going to waste any time talking too much, so I'm going to ask each of these panelists what they consider to be a visual spectacle, why, and what contributed to making it that grand thing that they thought of. I'll begin with, VFX is going to come last, like it always comes in when it comes to budgeting and when it comes to making cinema. But that's not the reason why they'll be speaking last. And why the exhibitor will be speaking first, that's Mayank. The reason is because I'd like to understand he deals with audiences directly. So he gets to know what makes a visual spectacle. Beginning with you, some of the spectacular films which you've seen and what made them the visual spectacle, and talk a bit about the evolution of VFX in making these visual spectacles.
Hi, good morning everyone, namaste, and thank you Animation Express for having us here. So yeah, it's a very interesting question about the visual spectacular VFX. Now what we believe the audience have also become very different and very advanced. Their expectation when they come to travel for a bigger screen, they would like to watch movie larger than life. Because now everyone at the home, they have got thousands of content to watch. And when we talk about the VFX or bigger films, I believe the change started from Bahubali, and till now we have been seeing the Brahmastra, which is the film came 2 years back, and that also had huge, beautiful VFX, which brought audience 3D VFX. Also looking at that, we see now all this larger than life big screen content also transforming themselves into 3D IMAX and 4DX. And we have seen the percentage of audience who are watching 3D films or films in a bigger format, macro XC, PXL, IMAX, larger format have increased from probably 12% to 18%. So that itself says, the data itself says that whenever they want to go out, they prefer the larger content with VFX. And when you talk about which are the contents which has worked in cinema in VFX, we believe any content which has worked in VFX is not only because of the VFX, but it is a combination of CGI and artistic craftsmanship of the team. And Padma is another great example, which is made in large screen, IMAX, and Shri Sanjay Leela Bansali, one of the most creative directors we have in the industry. So with so much of VFX or CGI work, he also ensured the artistic part was very well taken care from beginning planning of the film, pre-production to post-production.
Yeah. So any film which really stands out for you and why?
We got that feedback from the audience in Brahmastra. We always release films, 3D films, we always take a feedback. So that is a film which pushed the bar recently with the huge VFX, a beautiful VFX. I've never seen VFX in Bollywood. And Hollywood, of course.
Please don't call it Bollywood, call it Indian cinema.
Indian cinema.
Indian cinema.
Indian cinema. So, yeah, and then the recent was Avatar 2. So, which had artistic, again, freedom for maker to make it a immersive visualizing experience.
Thank you. There's going to be one rule on this panel. We are not going to use the word Bollywood. Indian cinema, we are not a cheap imitation of Hollywood. There was a time when we didn't have originality. Now there's a lot of originality. Well, we are borrowing VFX in terms of the quality of VFX, but we are not copying anymore.
Yes.
There's a lot of creativity. So please no Bollywood on this panel. Agreed? Thank you. Okay. Now I'll move on to the producer. Aashish, from your perspective, exactly the same question. I don't want to repeat and waste my audience's time. You speak because they've come to listen to you, not to me.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for having us here. So basically, VFX is a word which I feel is used a little loosely by people who don't know much about it. Okay. Also, as an audience, VFX is seen as something grand. So VFX's main purpose may be to make films look grand, but it doesn't mean that a small budget film cannot have good VFX. Okay, so to start with your first question about evolution of VFX in India, I'll just take a minute on this. So I've grown up in a film family. We used to produce films in the 70s, 80s, 90s. In 70s, I remember that the word VFX, CGI never existed. Probably it didn't exist in 80s also in India. VFX was more SFX. So at that time, there were cinematographers like Mr. Peter Pereira, who were really well known. And essentially, they were hired to shoot things like miniatures. So, for example, when you see an old film, there's a boat in the waters, it's rolling like this, and there's a storm. It used to be shot on a table like this, with the camera here, and with miniatures which were like right up to the, marked up to the size of the actual, and that was what VFX was at that time, so to say, but it was actually SFX. But over a period of time, with the advent of films, with a lot of introduction to Western films, clearly everybody understood the value of VFX. Also, VFX is a good counter to star system. And when you spoke about Avatar, clearly there was no big star over there, but it became the biggest grosser, internationally, worldwide. Similarly, when you ask about a VFX film that I can talk about that has changed things recently, I can talk about Bahubali. Okay, so Bahubali 1 was a film, like most of you all know, shot in Telugu language, with actors who were not that well known in the north. In fact, not known at all in the north. Okay, they were probably mid-level actors at that time when they were cast for Bahubali. Obviously directed by one of the finest directors of Indian cinema and somebody who's been highly successful, Rajamouli sir. So when that film came and hit us in the north, people were surprised and shocked by the opulence. And it was an expensive film, but it definitely looked much more than what it must have costed them. And that was a game changer for a lot of people, because that was a film that was dubbed in Hindi language. And Bahubali 2 went on to become the highest grosser of Hindi cinema in the north, being a dub film. Now, you can attribute a lot of it to VFX. Of course, one thing that we have to understand is that a film does not work only on VFX. Because there are hundreds of examples we can give where a lot of money was spent on VFX, but the film didn't do that well. So it's a combination of a good story, great casting, shooting of drama, music, and the same director has given us a RRR recently, which had a lot of VFX. I still cannot forget that shot, the interval shot. And I think anybody who's seen RRR takes that shot home, where you have these animals jumping out. That was pure VFX. And what great visualization. And that was acknowledged by Hollywood also. I can use the word Hollywood?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So Indian cinema went to LA, and Hollywood was in awe. Oh, wow.
Not Tollywood, Hollywood.
Hollywood was in awe of how could they even visualize such a shot at that cost. So these are some recent examples. And again, to my earlier point about VFX and us just thinking that we have to spend money on VFX to make a good film, the same director, Mr. Rajamouli, had done a film called Eega. So Eega, if you remember, and for people who don't know, has a very strange story, but it really worked with the audiences. What was Eega about? Eega was about two lovers who fell in love, were to get married, and there was a villain who liked the heroine. He gets the hero killed because the hero is not very strong and the villain is very powerful, he has the money, all of that. And he wants to get married to this girl then. But this hero is reincarnated as a fly. And the fly comes to take revenge with the villain, against the villain. And that is what this film was about. So in a one line, if I was to tell this story to anybody, they would say, what are you talking about? A reincarnation film of a hero coming back as a fly, a house fly this big, who'll take the revenge on this villain. Not you, but
No,
the
no,
villain.
so I can also be called a villain. I've been called that often, but that's okay.
So this was an example of a small budget film shot with conviction by a great director, great performances, and that worked really well. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that you have the Bahubalis of the world that have changed the way India looks at films in terms of size, scale, dubbing. And then there are examples like Iga and a lot of small budget films. Recently Hanuman, if you talk about Hanuman, so while the technical guys may have a say about the quality of the VFX and all of that, but it worked with the audiences. And it was a low budget film. So the other thing that we'll have to keep in mind about VFX is that all films cannot afford a lot of money as far as VFX is concerned. But how do you do it correct to make it look authentic? That is important. Because as an audience, you want it to look authentic and correct within that frame. And Hanuman is a great example of that. How it went and worked, they didn't have that big a budget, but it really worked pan-India and did so well.
Fantastic. Now, we've got to lead on to now Mrig, a director. Your perspective on what we have all been talking about. A great film which really floored you. Why did it floor you? And what do you think could have been better in the film?
Hi, good morning everyone. Taking on from where Aashish ji was talking about the vision the director has, firstly since we have most of the VFX studios and professionals from VFX, so I'll express my gratitude because of studios and professionals, we as writer directors, we get to make what we kind of see in our heads, and that is given shape through all the VFX houses in India and abroad, of course. So I like to quote one very, that has stayed with me, that's why I want to bring it here. And there's this strong connection with VFX. So I was watching this round table with various big Hollywood directors, Ridley Scott, Inaritu, various, 5-6 directors on the round table. And that statement stayed with me up till now that Mr. Ridley Scott, we all know he's considered god of cinema. And he said that you don't have to go to Mars to shoot a film on Mars. And I think he got this confidence because of his VFX team. He's not going to do the VFX himself. So having and the contrast was, why did it come from him is because Inaritu known for going on live locations. So Inaritu was talking about his film Revenant at that time. So he was saying that we went to minus 50 degrees and we shot with Leonardo DiCaprio, and the crew was freezing, everyone was freezing. And to that, Ridley Scott made this statement that you don't have to go to Mars to shoot a film on Mars. So you envision, you have that vision, you write, and there'll be professionals, there'll be studios who will help you take that vision forward. So that's where VFX, of course, is of great help. And talking about the evolution also, I think like all the human beings, there's a joke that we are going backwards in evolution. So somehow in terms of like how he beautifully explained how we shot on miniatures, etc. We shot on projected screens also, all the car shots, a lot of shots in the past. And I think we're going back to LED screens again. So I think it's a full circle that we are come to. And talking about the film that you asked, of course we've already spoken about Bahubali, Brahmastra, RRR, they're like spectacular. But not long ago there was a film called Ravan that came, and that used great VFX. I wouldn't say that at that time, because it was great irrespective. I mean, even if you will bring that film out today, it has VFX that's pretty much equivalent to what we see in all the Marvel films. So I think a lot, of course, depends on how much effort the producer director, how much effort the the writers and how much effort the VFX house is putting to give you a great stuff. You know, so it's as I said that Ravan is equally good in terms of the visuals, in terms of the action that they did, in terms of the what we call as body suits that we see on Marvel heroes. So yeah, so that's one film that that really stood out at that time also. Of course, I mean it had reasons for it not working, but that happens with a lot of films. So it's the connect probably that people don't have with the story. But irrespective, it's a spectacular film too in terms of visuals and in terms of the storytelling. It's just that intent have those emotions that probably were needed. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, last but not the least, actually they're the most important, as he said. Naveen, would you like to talk about a film which has impressed you because of its visual spectacle, because of its grandeur, and talk about that?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Animation Express, for having me here. It's a very good opportunity to speak about something that we are talking today. Yeah, I mean, visual effects is one of the technique in telling the narrative of a story. So I guess visual effects plays an important role as well, and owning and running a VFX studio, we have had privilege to work with almost all of the topmost directors who are known to make visual spectacles in India. You name the director and we have worked with the director, including the Bahubali and Sanjay Leela Bansali, Shankar. I mean, it's a privilege that we as a team carry. And the process of creating visual spectacle is something which is a very long process, wherein we brainstorm with the directors, and every director has their own style of telling the stories. And the most exciting and the most my favorite film that we have worked on visual spectacle is Tanaji, especially because we got the opportunity to design literally everything, from sets to costumes to environments, creatures, and all in combination make it a visual spectacle. So, and also, I mean, I don't know if it's right to say that when the films were known to be visual spectacles back then, I mean, NYVFX Wala has always been playing a crucial role to encourage directors to think and narrate stories which were otherwise impossible a decade ago, at least here in India. So, and also the team that we have at NYVFX Wala is very talented, and they have put in a lot of effort in creating those visual spectacles that we have worked upon. So yeah, I mean, it's visual effects is just one of the techniques to tell a story, and I still believe that if the story is good, then the bad VFX also looks good. So the entire credit of making a project successful has to go to the director, and we work for the director. So many times what happens is the other way around when we speak about worst VFX also. So, and everything is put upon the VFX artists who have worked on the film, which I think is not a fair practice to do, but yeah, I mean, I end my...
We'll come to the worst VFX and how VFX needn't help in the success of a story. Now let Bejoy take center stage, and talk about his favorite visual spectacular film.
Yeah, hi, good morning everyone. Thank you Anil and Animation Express for having me here. It's an honor for me to be here today. So next time you shoot me the question first, because almost all the points what I had, everybody stole those words from me. So my take on visual spectacle is a bit different. It's all about the storytelling first of all, as Naveen said, because you take Bahubali for example, which we also been a part of. Honestly, that doesn't have an amazing VFX. We have to accept it because of so many reasons. Budget and timelines. And something new. Indian cinema is experimenting in a very big scale, and but nobody even I didn't even see a single criticism on the VFX part on Bahubali, because people were so immersed in the storytelling. They were just carried away, and maybe in the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, people will be noticing all this, visuals and VFX and, camera work and stuff, but they just carried away with the storytelling and how the director narrates the story. So I think, when it comes to VFX, it's just a tool, which helps people to narrate to stories. And I think that is very important, first of all, because VFX is just a tool.
I know you're repeating yourself now. I'm going to focus on, you talked about Leo with me.
Yes.
So let's
the
talk
next
about
thing
Leo.
I will come, to that point, So what happens is, people just think VFX as a filling spot, something like an item song, where you run out of story, or the story gets dull at some point of time, and just think of something to fill in, and they just come out with an idea of filling it with a VFX scene or a shot, so that it enhances the experience, the audience experience. So of course, it has helped us in so many ways in the past, but it has its own failures as well. So what I, as a supervisor, would when I speak with directors, I always insist them to involve us from the pre-production stage, so that we can build the story together. VFX is a very good tool that you can put it together, stitch it in a way that it will enhance your storytelling, and it's going to really help you out with entertaining the audience, and giving those goosebump moments. Either it can be with the camera moves, or with the amazing creatures or environments we create, but it has to go along with the storytelling. So in the past, we have seen so many films that has done and been successful in the past, and even many Hollywood films we have seen with a huge disaster, with an amazing visual effects, but still nobody spoke about the visual effects, or even it got criticized because of, and as Naveen said, when a movie goes wrong, then people start picking things from that movie, and the first one to be blamed is visual effects houses. So so we always know that, but there are certain things that out of control of a visual effects supervisor or house. We are not being a part of storytelling right from the beginning. So I think this generation of directors are pretty much clear where they have to embed VFX and how they have to involve VFX supervisors in their films, and it's getting better every day. So films like RRR and all those Brahmastra or whatever. So I think it's getting better, and we are looking at a prospective future.
Leo?
Leo is something, as I said, it was we worked on so many things, but especially on Corchase, we worked on that film, which was again an item song kind of stuff, which was added at the last moment. And we were just given 3 days to shoot, and 2 months to execute that complete CGI scene of 4 minutes. And of course, my team did a great job with the timeline we've been provided. But again, it is, everybody said it's an amazing shot, because it's a single take car chase, which, not many have tried before. Maybe 1 or 2 films in the Hollywood, but not in the Indian cinema. So, it stood out for its own technical abilities, and, the DOP also tried so many things apart from that scene. He has tried with the The drone camera, some new techniques and technology and stuff. We have, did motion control and so many things in that film. But for this particular scene that we have worked on, we've been acclaimed for what we did. But my point is, provided with more time, we could have done an amazing job. But
this is the car chase you're talking about,
yes,
with the motorcyclists
yes,
and all of that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that is the point. Like you have to understand the importance of VFX and storytelling, and why it is important when it comes to storytelling. The inclusion of VFX. So when you do that in the right way, I think, of course, nobody criticized, our work in Leo, but still, we could have done a great job if provided with the right time and the right story behind it. So,
I'm going to pass you a compliment. I didn't know it was VFX. I didn't know it was VFX.
Thank you so much.
So that means you did a great job.
It was completely created, and the environment is completely created. I think maybe the making clip is available. People can see it in the sessions that we are presenting in the afternoon, I think. That actually proved to be a very challenging scene. Actually, we have to plan everything and shoot everything in 3 days. Just the actor and the supporting actor and one bike, and the rest of all are CGI, the cars, the environment and all the effects we did. So it was a testing time for us. We actually tested our own skill sets in that scene. It helped us a lot to learn so many things and exhibit it in the right way. But
stop complaining. You did a great job. Let's give him a round of applause. 3 days.
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you.
I didn't know it was VFX.
That
means you did a great job.
Thank you so much.
How many of your people in the audience feel you need more time who are in the VFX business? How many? Can you raise your hands? Everyone. I just see 2 hands being raised. You don't think you need more time, Naveen, for a VFX shot?
There's no option. We generally doesn't have privilege to choose the option of having more time. So there's no time always.
So that shot was good. You remember the shot that they worked on? The car chase.
Yeah,
and all
it
that.
was brilliantly done.
Thank you.
I've complimented Bejoy for
Let's give him a round of
things.
applause so he doesn't feel like he needs more time, damn it. And he doesn't get apology. He was sweating actually next to me talking about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Coming down to now, back again to, the other members on the panel. In terms of OTT, that's really pushing boundaries as far as creating visual spectacles. But that's for a small screen and there's theatrical. So, how do you create visual spectacles for OTT and how do you create visual spectacles for theatrical? How different is it? And what goes into it? Do you want to take a shot at that?
Yeah, sure. So, on my colleagues on VFX, I would like to say, Naveen and Bejoy, not all the films which do not work, people criticize for VFX because we believe VFX has a lot of efforts and we really appreciate on the same. So there are 2 films we believe we speak really great about VFX, the films which didn't work. Maybe that's Ravan, one of the example gave. People till now speak about the example of Ravan, people who worked behind the film. I think it was a great VFX done. Second is Malai Kotai, Mohanlal sir's a great planned film, but unfortunately sometimes films do not work, but VFX had done really great. And also I believe why people at times says VFX is not good, because probably our benchmark has gone very up. We started watching Hollywood content which is made for 80 countries and they might have a budget of 1,000 crore investing in VFX, but when Indian contents, which is made for only like 1,000 screens or 2,000 screens, they might not have that big budget, and there the comparison which creates an issue. So that's on VFX. Coming back to answer VFX on OTT and or theater. We believe, so bigger films with a lot of investments on VFX made for large formats or made for large screens should be released in cinema. And of course, because of the one is experience, it has an experience. People go out for experience. They do not go out only to watch a content, but it's an experience which they get. going to a cinema theater. I believe someone goes out to the restaurant also, it goes not only to eat food, because they can always order the same food over Zomato, but it's an experience, they go out. So same way in theater. Secondly, also revenues are also important. When a creator invests a lot of monies in a big VFX and overall production, so they need ROI, and if they, of course, choose theaters as a platform to release, so revenue per head also increases. His ROI is also good. And we do love OTT, we do respect OTT, everyone watches. There can be some content made with limited budget or particular demographic that can be always part of the OTT. And so that's the place for those type of content.
Great. So I'm going to turn to a director now. Mrig, when you're thinking of a project, what's the thought process? Theatrical, OTT, and does visual effects play a role earlier on, previous, and also during the story writing time? Or, and how do you differentiate between the two mediums?
See,
especially visual spectacular films.
yeah, see, like if you want to involve VFX, it depends entirely on the story. There might not be a use of VFX at all in a story you want to say. So, but as we were talking backstage, I mean, there is something that's there in the pipeline. That's a VFX heavy film. So it makes total sense to involve the VFX production house, the VFX artists, the supervisors, the VFX producers right from the beginning. As both these guys said, that we should be involved right from the, of course, once the basic writing is done, that can help the director to visualize, to probably do some changes if required on the script level. And kind of achieve the result you're looking for, starting from, of course, storyboarding and previs, and going forth. And now coming to that OTT versus theatrical, of course, I belong to that generation who's also always wanted to see the films in theater. But as said, that we all respect OTT, and both the platforms should coexist. OTT also has a competition, that is our mobile phone, that is the reels. So many people actually switch off OTTs and they go back to scrolling on their phones. So I mean, all the platforms should coexist. What to make for a particular OTT or for a theater is again, like how he said that in terms of films, when we make films, Hollywood has almost 80 countries to show their films to. And some 100,000 screens they would have, and that's the revenue that they get, the return of investment they get. In films, we get limited screens. Similarly, it's not that visual spectacles are not made for smaller screens. If you pick up
they are made. What I'm saying is, as a director,
yeah,
when you're, and as a writer and as a producer, when you're creating, how do you decide between the two? The storytelling can get onto, like a lot of the direct to OTT, direct to customer films are coming up, and a lot of series are coming up. So how do you decide within yourself, because budgets, that OTTs are really pushing the agenda on getting great product out. You know, Aashish can add to that. And then how, apart from not getting a release window, what goes on in your mind as a director, when you're as a writer, creator, when you're deciding between OTT and theater?
See, that's what I'm saying.
In terms of visual effects, again, and creating spectacles.
That's what I was getting to, that even if you think that you have something really big in terms of visual spectacle and you want to put it on OTT, it's again the budgets. It's again the budgets that you will probably catering to a very limited audience. Whereas there are shows like, there's a recent show on Amazon called Fallout. It's a VFX heavy show. There are, I mean, one of the best series that have come, Game of Thrones. It's heavy on VFX.
Mandalorian is another case.
Again, so all these they're like really spectacular in terms of visuals, but they're made for small screen. So it's again the budget thing that they are catering to almost again 80-90 countries, and we making content in our language, or let's say in in Tamil or in Marathi, whatever. But we are still catering it to a very limited audience. So it's the budgets that kind of stop us from making those efforts to bring those spectacles on small screen. So your only route then what is left is that if you're investing that much, you rather think big screen so that there is and hope that it'll reach a wider audience and the return would be greater, would be much higher. So that's where. And bottom of it, if you'll ask me, it's the story. There are some stories that are only meant to be told for screens. You can't expect a Bahubali, I mean, it'll not do justice, but there are some small stories that you think that, okay, probably they will not attract too many people in theaters. Like a recent example, which is kind of very disheartening, because we've had a very beautiful film called Lapata Ladies that's been released. It's not related to VFX, but now it's got released on Netflix. It was a theatrical release few months back, I think, maybe few weeks back. It didn't do that kind of business. It didn't. Of course, it got appreciated, but it didn't do the business, let's say, 12th Fail did. But I've been seeing on social media that everyone's now praising Lapata Ladies since its release on. So somewhere we don't know what is to be consumed in theaters and what is to be consumed. The film is good irrespective. So I mean, people who are like kind of appreciating the film on Netflix, they should have gone and watched it. There are unfortunately some critics who are writing about the film now. They should have seen the film earlier. They should have done this word of mouth earlier so that people would have gone to theaters and seen the film, which is really beautiful and which needs no. I mean, people are talking about it. Once you see it, you know how good the film is. So again, it's the story, and I think Aashish ji will agree with me that unfortunately there is no formula. It's not science, it's not physics, it's not chemistry. There is no formula. What works, what doesn't.
Great. Now I'm going to kind of turn to the role of AI in the evolution of more visual storytelling. We are seeing tools like Sora, we are seeing tools like Midjourney coming up, and generative AI and new language models are coming up. So where do you see this, enhancing, or do you see it, or do you see it impacting the VFX side and also visual spectacles in cinema? What do you see happening?
See, honestly, there's a lot that we still have to see there. So while everything happens in the West first, and by the time India adapts to it, probably it takes about 2-3 years, or even more for that matter. As far as AI is concerned and some of the other platforms that you spoke about, they are excellent. They're excellent for what they are doing. When you see a 30-minute film, you say, wow, this is fantastic. But I think throughout this conversation, we've been talking about stories and storytelling and the director who's so important in his visualization. So that is first always, and that will always remain first, okay? These tools can definitely help him. So probably, like we were discussing earlier, maybe they will help him in pre-visualization first. So you have a great script, great idea, put it over there, you get the output of what the film could more or less look like. So it's a great help for him to say, okay, fine, this is working, not working. But to say that an Indian film or a Hindi film can come out of AI in the next 3 to 5 years and do
a spectacular film,
that is impossible. That is impossible, because then we'll have to get into the technology and all of that of it, and how it looks on the big screen, on an IMAX screen and all of that. The other most important thing is we are still a very star-driven market. What do you do about that?
sure.
So what do you do about your superstars who are bigger than all of this? So they will continue being the stars, right? And without them, you cannot guarantee that big opening. And however much we may talk about VFX in India, sadly, we've not had a single film that was just driven by VFX and not the actor or the director that has done so well. In the West, there could be many examples. The Dunes of the world and all of that. No doubt it's a great IP and great VFX, great visuals, great director, great background music. But in India, we still are a long way to first achieve that big VFX film that does well purely just on the VFX and not the superstar.
What would you call the Mummy? Mummy Returns.
I'm talking about Hindi films, Indian
But
films.
internationally. The
Yes,
Mummy.
of course. There are many
VFX
examples of
heavy.
it. Absolutely. There are
Not
many
star
examples.
heavy.
No, absolutely. So I'm saying in Hollywood it's worked. There's no question about it. But in India, we still have to achieve that.
Few exceptions, Hanuman being one, and the one before that Hanuman came, I think.
Karthikeyan too.
Karthikeyan.
Yeah.
So of course they, but again there are few exceptions. What he is saying is absolutely right, that we are of course star driven.
To make it the big spectacle I'm talking about, to have that 400 crore film or the 500 crore film that matches
Now
with a
you're having
Jawan
the
or a
spy
Pathaan.
families, you're having the spy universes and all of that with Tiger and with,
Yes.
so no, you're building the Jawan franchise. You're
Yes,
building all of
absolutely. So the VFX is supporting it big time. There's no question about that. And I mean, I'm maybe probably diverting a little from your question, but for the audience, and as I've seen from a production side, so when we shot Dhoom 2 or Dhoom 3, up till Dhoom 3 maybe, when we're talking about these kind of films at YRF, there was no way you could visualize about shooting a sequence without the actor being on the set. That had changed dramatically. So now when a war is shot, or when a Pathaan is shot, or when a Tiger is shot, they don't have to travel to the location.
Sure.
And while the Indian producer may want to show as if the actor has done all the stunts,
There are doubles.
there are doubles, there is VFX, there is CGI, their bodies are, not what they actually are on screen. And as an audience, you don't feel that. But that's the reality. So production has changed dramatically thanks to the support of VFX. There's no question about that. It's become so easy. You don't have an actor now. If I give you an example, and for people who've seen War, there's a sequence that's on ice, snow. I don't think the actors must have traveled over there to shoot that. All that probably must have been done against a green screen somewhere in Bombay, right? Similarly, when you talk about Pathaan, Jawan, and all the big scale films, even from the south, at Laika, I was lucky to be a part of PS1, which NY worked on and did a great job. Was a visual spectacle, but none of it was on location, right?
But
Most
are
of
the
it-
stars understanding that it's more about the storytelling now?
But they are still the people who get that day one. Most of them do. I'm not saying all of them do, but most of them do. So till that does not change, or we don't have examples of other films that do well without the stars, it's a tough one to crack, right?
Okay. Naveen, same question.
So was the question on AI?
Yes.
Okay.
How it's going to lead to better storytelling, more spectacular films and
So I see AI as tool, as Ashish ji just mentioned, and I just feel without human intervention, AI can't do much about it. So that's one, and I feel AI would help all of us to be more efficient and invest time on things which needs to set newer benchmarks in terms of, it could be the quality of visuals, it could be the kind of stories that are being told today, maybe stories that could be told in a better way and more in a sense that it creates an immersive experience to kind of get into the world of that story. I think AI is just another tool as far as I think.
So does Bejoy see differently? Because there's going to be a school of filmmakers who will rely on AI to make cinema and short films, etc. There's already, it's emerging. And there's going to be a school which will rely purely on classical movie making techniques using VFX. There'll be another school which will combine the new AI tools as well as VFX. There'll be another school which will be, and all of these three will be good. And there'll be another school which will be using AI to make rubbish. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So AI is just part of the evolution, so it is not something, people were afraid when computers were introduced, they thought their jobs are going to be taken away by the computers, but it's a different case now, people cannot live without computers, they just evolve with it. So AI is something that is going to be here for sure. And we have to make use of that and to increase our productivity. Like we have started implementing AI in our studio. What it has done to us is, like for example, there are so many time-consuming work that we do it in a repeat mode. For example, it can be rotoscopy, it can be the cleanups, it can be follow through of certain creative frames. Throughout de-aging or stuff. We have started using AI to decrease the kind of time that we are investing on. And it has, of course, very much helped us, because whatever we've been delivering in 5 days, for example, it has been reduced to 1 day. So it has made us very efficient, and the productivity has gone up. So it's the same case with the whole filmmaking process. So I've seen tools where you give the script and it evaluates the script and it even suggests you good cast. So it doesn't mean that it's going to take away the casting director's job.
People are writing scripts on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So that, I don't think that makes sense.
Yeah. So no, they are just using the tool. That's all. It doesn't mean that it's going to replace anyone, but it is just going to increase the productivity and probably give a flavor of a more stylish way of complementing each other's work. So I think AI is going to stay here, and we cannot avoid the evolution of AI. But to be smart, you have to just learn and evolve with AI, and make use of AI's evolution to your benefit is what I see.
Yeah. And do we see, now actually I'm running out of questions, but I'm going to ask you a last question before I throw it open to the audience. Do you see bigger films coming in, or Ramayan's coming in? I believe it's a huge project. Is that going to be a landmark which will decide whether we'll go with small budget films with, or will we go with even bigger films? What do you see? Each one of you all.
The fundamental thing is filmmaking is a business, and everything is worked upon and around return on investment, as we spoke some time ago. Obviously, if there are stories where that can attract more people, that could definitely increase the budgets of the film. And obviously, the kind of stories that will be narrated, as we are also working on a couple of films that have never been tried before. So it's a continuous evolving process, the way the stories will be told moving forward. And AI could definitely be one tool. I'm just touching base on AI again because that's going to play a very important role in setting up the base at least. And everything else would be impossible without a human intervention. So which also makes me think that couple of things that would enable to make visually spectacle films moving forward is completely dependent on return on investment. A lot of stakeholders involved in producing a film and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, films are being made as of now, which are very high in budgets, and Ramayana is something that I strongly feel that would leave a very good benchmark for Indian VFX industry.
Okay. We at theatres welcome bigger, smaller, all various budget films. The challenge what we see to act at Mrig with smaller budget films like 12th Fail or Lapata Ladies, the beautiful, amazing stories and loved by everyone. Unfortunately, I agree with producers also, because these are smaller budget films, they have smaller marketing budget. And I believe that's become a very, very big challenge for audience to have an awareness of the next film which is coming to the theatres, or next film which one to watch. So that's a little challenge we see right now in theatres. But when the bigger films come, the production house has a bigger budget for marketing. The awareness is very high. That's why we see it taking very high opening also. So, yeah.
You'd like to see more bigger budget films also, but Bejoy, what's your take on it? That do we see some sort of correction happening, or do we see it continuing that we're going to pick more large-scale, visually appealing films?
No,
and it's good news for you if you have large-scale, because it's more work for the VFX houses.
Yeah, exactly. So due to the rise of OTT, our Indian content has gained more audience actually in the recent past. So, films like RRR, when I go and speak with my colleagues, out of, the other countries, actually everyone, almost everyone know RRR. When we say, we come from India and we do this here, this and that, and the next question they ask is like, are you part of RRR? So, Indian cinemas are, really making out in the international market, and the market is growing big. So when you have more audience, then it means that there is more money. When there is more money, definitely producers will be encouraged to, invest more and make very big content. But at the same time, even for Hollywood, there is Avengers coming, and at the same time there will be some small, romantic comedy will be releasing, and that is also will be making it, good in the box office. So I think, there are different, taste between the audience, and everybody needs to be entertained. Not Avengers will satisfy everyone, or not La La Land will satisfy everyone. So it is both, there are so many people with so many tastes. So I think it's not about, the scale of the movie, but the content, the many content that we produce, and the more audience we can entertain. So I think the rise of OTT has helped us out with all this, the increase in content. So I'm seeing a very good future for filmmaking, and even for VFX houses, because even La La Land had its own huge VFX sequences. So filmmakers are implementing VFX even with smaller movies. So there are companies who can afford that, who cannot afford that. So it will be a continuous process, and I think the future is great actually.
Yeah. So quickly, because I have got Prerna standing over there, but quickly on the question which I asked you all, both of you all, so that I can call it a wrap.
Yeah, so basically, as far as I'm concerned, give me a good film. Big or small doesn't matter, okay, to start with. Definitely the business will be different if the film is big and good, and the business will be different if it's small and good. That goes without saying. So he spoke about 12th Fail, brilliant film, very little VFX, so to say, not very big in terms of making, but it touched your heart. So a film has to touch your heart first for it to really succeed big time. No doubt visually it can keep you engaged. So when we talk about films like say Pathaan or Jawan, when you're seeing that spectacle, you are in awe of it. When you come out and maybe 3 years down the line, you may forget it. I'm not questioning those films. I'm saying that they're big films, they've done the biggest business. But a big spectacle does not ensure that you will remember the film 5 years later. Like from my experience, people will remember a Chak De India more, even now, 20 years down the line. So that is what personally I look for.
Okay. Mrig?
What I've been hearing here is that we are associating VFX with big budget spectacles. I think what the correction is that the same director who made Bahubali, as he said, he made Iga. Iga was shot in one house, but he was still very much dependent on VFX because that fly was created, CGI, VFX. So, I mean, it's not about, like, we should not associate, like, maybe I would want to make a film, let's say, with a kid and a dog. And I would probably not be able to get a dog to act, of course they're trained, but not to probably act the way I want the dog to. I will depend on VFX. So it's not about creating only big scales, big palaces, big spectacles, cars flying. The biggest example is of the biggest director in India, that is Rajamouli sir, who's made Iga and who's made Bahubali and RRR. Shot in one house versus shot across India and abroad and studios in LA, etc. So I think that's how much the directors, the storytellers are dependent on CGI and VFX. And big or small, as he said, I mean, it's at the end of the day, what worked was is the story. It's the storytelling, it's the story, it's the connect that we get. Similarly, if we talk about AI and AI-driven films, it can be another category. Cartoon was another category. Anime is another category. We would want to see films that are totally made in AI. That's okay, but that's another category.
Sure.
I mean, how much they're going to replace, I don't know. Time will tell. Of course, they provide us with a insight into the environment that we are looking at, but you'll still need, right now for us at least, you still need the actors in flesh and bone to perform in that world. You know, so yeah, I mean, it's the synthetic versus real, that's the difference.
Fantastic. Do you have time for questions?
We do not have.
No time? All right. Thank you very much. I hope it's been an insightful discussion for the audience. If it has, please applaud loudly, not softly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, each one of you all. Thank you.